Hello! Today we are going to walk through an example of using Burke's Pentad to understand poetry on a deeper and more profound level. Parents use a lot of interesting sayings to get their points across. Some of the more common ones are on the screen. The poet Shel Silverstein chose one of those phrases as the basis of his poem. To make it interesting, he made a sarcastic statement literal. Let's see how. The act section of the Pentad focuses on the plot or the movement of the story. In this case, the act of the poem focuses on a child losing his head. The poem doesn't specify if the child is a boy or a girl, but I will refer to the child as a boy to keep the discussion consistent. The poet actually had the child's head fall off, just like his mother said that it would. When examining the act of a piece, it's best to determine what kind of act is being performed. In this case, the act is an act of carelessness. The actor-agent section of the Pentad examines who commits the main act of the story. In our case, we have three options: the child, the child's cousin, and the child's mother. Even though the act is an act of carelessness, the carelessness is on the part of the child. The mother warned, and the cousin helped look, but both of their actions contribute to the main situation at hand. The child lost his head. The scene of the Pentad explores setting, which must include both time and place. Time and place often dictate many of our choices and actions. Here, however, the poet presented very little information. We know it's daytime and that the children are outside based on information from the poem. Other than that, we don't know more. If the scene is so important, why was the poet so vague? One reason could be because keeping the scene vague lets all readers identify. This could happen to any child in any time, not just long ago. The agency of the Pentad explores the how. How did the actor or agent perform this act? In our case, the question is, how did the child lose his head? Well, if the act was an act of carelessness, then the agency explains how such an act could happen. The child knew the importance of fastening his head on properly because the mother specifically warned him about the possibility of his head falling off. Sometimes a lack of being conscientious is exactly how bad things happen. The purpose of the Pentad explores the why. Why did the actor or agent perform this action? Why did the actor or agent perform this action in the way that he did? In this case, the motivation is again more complicated than it seems, despite the simplicity of the poem. The child did not purposely lose his head. He also likely did not purposely forget to fasten his head on properly. The poem shows the reader the consequences of not being conscientious or thorough. The boy was not motivated to ensure his head was on correctly, and because of that, he lost it. Using the Pentad, even a simple poem like this one can yield some interesting discussion. As a reader, what do I walk away with? Personally, using the Pentad showed me two things. First, the Pentad showed me that Silverstein wants to emphasize being conscientious about things that matter. This was totally preventable. Second, and to a lesser extent, Silverstein wants us to listen to our mothers. Sometimes they know what they're talking about.
Created using Powtoon.